Being self-centered saved me. Yes, you heard me right. A cruder word for self-centered is selfish, and being selfish actually saved me. We all hear stories of extolling virtues of selflessness. Sacrifice and self-denial, especially for women in our society, are considered to be very laudable. I too grew up with such stories both at home and at school. Things, however, changed. When I was 16, there was an attempt on my life. I was raped once the man thought I was dead. 7th February 1985, my world seemed enveloped in darkness. My parents were devastated. I was assaulted physically and raped while I lay there pretending to be dead. I am a 55-year-old architect. Thank you. I am a 55-year-old architect who has walked over 2,500 kilometers across different parts of India. The first walk was 1,700 kilometers from Kolkata to Delhi. The second one was across the borders to Dhaka. The third was a short, sweet one in Odisha. And the fourth one I concluded recently on 28th of January from Chennai to Bangalore. This was to explore the power of design and to remind designers that they need to work with communities. I founded Ethos and Ethos Foundation to create agents of change in the fields of architecture, construction, engineering, and design. Ethos today is a universe of over 150,000 students and professionals. I'm a doting wife and a nagging mother to our 2 sons and now a daughter-in-law as well. I took to running at the age of 45 with my first 10K. And I've completed 4 full marathons. I have skydived, traveled to over 50 countries, and loved spending time over jigsaws and crosswords. But I shudder to remember that none of this may have happened. In the last few years, I've been trying consciously to identify those tenets, or maybe that one tenet that may have helped me overcome the effects of the assault and to lead a rich and fulfilling life that I do. In this quest, I asked my friends from my childhood of what they thought could have been that one feature in my character that may have helped. I thought I would hear things like willpower, determination, mental strength. But that one thing that came to me from my closest friend from childhood was my ability to stay self-centered. Making my dreams, my future, my life take center stage, she said, was probably crucial to nurturing myself. Instead of allowing circumstances prevail over my life, I allowed myself self-love and self-care. I've reflected on this quite a bit, and I find so much truth in her assessment of me from those times. In the aftermath of the incident, I developed the ability of putting myself first. Instead of a victim, I believed myself to be a hero for walking over 2 compound walls that had glass shards in them to reach my neighbor's house, despite being battered and bruised. In time to apprehend the rapist. Carrying on with the court case for 12 years in my fight for justice, by when I had already married and had our first son who was a year old. My 12th grade board exams were less than 3 weeks away when the assault happened. We were living in Delhi for 3 years by then. I was getting used to the place. While yes, this was a huge setback in the eyes of everyone around me, my mind actually raced to my exams and my future. It was as if I could not and would not let myself be defined by this incident. I moved to a friend's house because studying in the house where this had happened was fairly traumatizing. While I say that I chose to look after myself at every step, I was just doing things spontaneously at that point in time. Obviously, I was not sitting and planning these things. But looking back, putting myself first was central to making sure that my life did not slip into one consumed by guilt, shame, depression, or self-pity. I managed to top my school. I did struggle to find my groove in the next couple of months. I did not do as well as in my entrance exams as I could have. I would have chosen medicine, but architecture chose me. I worked on developing and nurturing connections and skills to find my feet in this not too familiar discipline. A rape is often forced on by known persons. And this was true of my case too. He had worked as a driver for a few years with us, and his wife was our housekeeper. They were young, and I was younger. I obviously got attached to them. The rape was an act of betrayal. It was a colossal breach of trust. How does one ever get over that? To trust again. The horrific rape could have resulted in my shying away from male friends. After all, I was pushed out of adolescence a little too early into adulthood. But again, I found me looming large. I wanted to fit in. I wanted people to know me and like me. I wanted to enjoy myself. Is that what made me accept male company without fear? I trusted males as much as I did before the incident. I treated this as an event, an incident in my life, and did not make it my whole life. Some of my friends in college knew that I had been through some hell, but they did not know it all. And I did seek friends out when I wanted to talk to them. Most often, I was rather on my own. I vividly remember that one night in Vadodara, we were on a college trip. It was late in the evening, and I was getting ready to join my friends. We were in a modest hostel accommodation. Suddenly, there was a power cut. I froze. I was not used to being in the dark alone yet. There were nights when I would break into cold sweat and crawl into the bed of my parents who were in the next room. I remember that this continued till I was about 21. My parents also brought my nanny from childhood to be with me, and I remember holding her hand through the night. And here I was in Vadodara, alone, in the dark, petrified. I was hoping desperately that some friend of mine would realize my agony and walk in to help. But no one did. I don't think they realized the extent of my trauma. That's when I realized that I had to navigate my way. I had to find my way out of the space myself. I had to fight my battles and emerge stronger. If I do not take care of myself, if I am not there for my fears, I cannot expect others to be there for me. This episode led me to another battle with my parents, where I wanted them to allow me to move into the hostel despite having a home in Delhi. My parents finally relented, and I spent 1 year at the SPA Delhi hostel, overcoming some of my fears. Another negotiation followed. I had started writing to this professor at the Carnegie Mellon University, Pittsburgh. Almost a year, I used to write about twice a month to him, asking him to take me on as a trainee. And I celebrated the day he sent me an acceptance letter. Now I had the task of convincing my father to allow me to go by myself to the US. Many conversations later, he agreed. I crafted these 6 months as a way for myself of getting back my independence, building a me who was affected by the rape for sure, but not ruined by it. I have to mention here that I was on antidepressants for close to 3 to 4 years intermittently. I used this period to wean myself off them and to begin charting my future path. I was now prepared to allow love into my life, but I was clear that the man I was to spend my entire life with would need to know that I was raped, and that too at the beginning of the relationship. It was only fair that he knew he was taking on a relationship that would need work. Also, I was proud of the way that I had handled myself thus far, and I wanted him to feel the same way about me. It's true. It's always good to love yourself. It's always good to have self-esteem. But in the case of rape survivors, it becomes all the more important to nurture. Falling in love and getting married to Bala was beautiful. But I continued to demand a say in our physical relationship, indicating when I was having a bad day, when I needed to be hugged, when I needed to be left alone and needed some space, when I needed a good cry. Even today, I'm overcome when I realize how beautiful intimate physical contact can be. Until then, I had only seen the brutal side of things. There are times in life when putting yourself first is the only way of surmounting a formidable challenge. Formidable can mean different things to different people. In the days, months, and maybe even years after I was raped, if I did not make myself the most important person, the person central to my life, whose needs, ambitions, and hopes were second to none, I may not have become the person I am today. My decisions prevailed on seemingly unrelated events too, like the shaving of our son's head. We know that in our society, it's auspicious to shave the son's head. My husband and family believed in this too. But my husband never asked me or broached the subject with me because he knew the panic I felt with tonsured heads. It again goes back to the dreaded night when my hand, as a reflex action, went to the intruder's head to pull at his hair to cause him some pain so that I could find a moment to escape. He had come well prepared. He had come clean shaven. In my professional life too, I made sure that I had my say. I chose to give up a regular job at an architect's office. I responded to an advertisement for a creative educationist in slums, interviewed with an NGO called Arcause, and they needed an architect. And thus, I began chasing my dreams of making a difference wherever possible. I felt that having got a second lease of life, I needed to do things that mattered rather than do things just to get by. I started Ethos in 2002 to give students of architecture, design, and even young professionals a platform to be able to make decisions by choice rather than by chance. On the 20th anniversary of Ethos and the 75th year of our Indian independence, I chose to go on a walk from Kolkata to Delhi, a 1700-kilometer walk. While I will hold up the beautiful stories from that transformative, life-changing experience for another day, I must speak about how this walk was a crowning glory of my healing, of putting myself first. I was raped at 16 and here I was, marching into the unknown at 53. Doesn't that need courage, even if I say so myself? There were many who quizzed me about my safety on the route. I asked myself, was I safe at home? Had it not been for my presence of mind, I may not have lived to see this day. 70 days of living a day at a time, a moment at a time. Outside my comfort zone was me, thumbing my nose at the rape and saying, I will not allow you to define me. I will not allow you to hold me down. I will rise and rise like a phoenix. Thank you so much.